Yes, it is. Hello. Welcome to the show. Fly, Eagles, fly. Is this where we say and new? Because for the first time in a few years, there is a new champion in the NFL. Congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles. It's Nicole Briscoe, Michael Eaves, Herm Edwards is here. Tim Hasselbeck is going to join us in a few minutes. Look, this wasn't just a win for the Philadelphia Eagles. This was an absolute dismantling of the Kansas City Chiefs by the Eagles. Your first thoughts are what?
That the Philadelphia Eagles defense showed everyone today why they were the number one defense in the National Football League. And they basically dominated the line of scrimmage. And if the game got to that, we knew that the Kansas City Chiefs would be in trouble. And that's what happened to them. They couldn't block them. They could not block that front.
Last night on SportsCenter, I'm going to give you your props. You picked the Eagles. I didn't give you props for that. I'm giving you props for how you said it was going to happen. You said they couldn't block them, so they were going to have to run the ball. If not, Mahomes would be running for his life all night. He got sacked 6 times. He was pressured 16 additional times. He
literally what happened.
2 picks, and they got blown out the building.
Yeah, I anticipated that if that took place, what you just talked about, this was going to be the result. Now, I didn't obviously think they were going to score 40 points.
Right.
But turnovers help. And think about the Eagles going into the playoffs. And I said this as well. They took the ball away 10 times in playoff competition. They took it away 3 more times. They were the better team, but they dominated. They dominated the Kansas City Chiefs, and it all started with their defense.
They were the better team, but all along we've been saying, you know, the Chiefs are the Chiefs, and they've got Patrick Mahomes, and until somebody goes in and beats them, then you have to respect the defending champions. But there were also so many times this season we were like, wait, hold on. Is this the moment the Chiefs are actually in trouble? Is this what actually happened? Like, this is what we thought we've been worried about has finally happened?
Well, look here now. They played the best team in football. The Eagles were the best team in football. Okay, let's make that perfectly clear. That was my opinion as I watched the season. The Chiefs just have the it factor, where if you allow them to stay in games, they beat you. And that's what they did all year. And that's why they're a great football team. But this game got out of hand early for the Kansas City Chiefs. They got a lead, and then from there it was like, now they have to throw. They played right into the hands of the Philadelphia Eagles.
You could say not only was this the best team in football this year in Philadelphia, but probably the best or maybe most talented team that the Chiefs have faced in their Super Bowl appearances under Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. As promised, Tim Hasselbeck is here. And we're going to talk a lot about the Eagles, but I want to get your take on Patrick Mahomes on the wake of what Coach Herm was just saying here, Tim. The pressure that Mahomes was facing, and they weren't even blitzing him to get to him.
Yeah, the crazy thing is, Michael, when you look at it, the Eagles didn't bring more than a 4-man rush, I don't think, on a single drop back the entire night. That means that a 4-man rush absolutely dominated this football game. That's what happened. That's exactly what Herm was talking about. I mean, the Eagles up front were dominant. And listen, it was edge pressure. It was guys winning inside. And I will say this, I think it affected Patrick Mahomes, and I think it affected him early in the football game. I think there were a couple misses early on, which, obviously kind of helped things spin out of control in Philadelphia's favor. I think at one point, time of possession was like 25 minutes to 5 minutes. I mean, it was wild. And so, 0 for 8 on 3rd down, and just the Chiefs were struggling. And so, look, the pressure was the thing. We had to credit the Eagles for their pressure. And then I think we saw Kansas City, and in particular Patrick Mahomes, not respond well to the fact that they were under so much pressure.
To give you some context here, Philly able to bring that pressure against Mahomes, as you mentioned, without committing any extra rushers. He threw an interception against both man and zone in one of the worst games of his career, Coach.
Well, and Tim knows this. He's played the quarterback position. He was never set. He was always hurried. He never felt comfortable in the pocket. As great as he is, when you start hitting that quarterback, they feel it. He felt those hits. And, when you're on defense and you're the coach, you know what you're telling your guys? Go hunt. Go hunt. And that's what they were doing. They were hunting the quarterback, literally hunting them down. So we're going to hit this guy.
So in the hindsight is 2020 world, like, what should the Chiefs have done? How should they have responded when the Eagles started hunting?
Here, I thought when they opened the game up, they had a good plan. They spread them out, and they threw the ball quickly. He got it out of his hand. He made some throws, and I went, oh, here they go. They moved the ball. And then all of a sudden, they got away from that. And I'm like, why did they get away from it? Because they kept the Eagles' defense on the field with those short throws where they couldn't get to the quarterback. But then they just kind of got away from it, and all of a sudden it became, we're trying to catch up, and then the big guys went and hung.
Show of hands, how many people thought that the Eagles' leading rusher in this game would not be Saquon Barkley?
Exactly, right.
I mean, so you have to give the Chiefs defense a little bit of credit for that, but you also have to look at the game that Jalen Hurts played. When you think about the poise that he had, the rushing attempts that he had, how do you sum up what you saw tonight, Tim, from Jalen Hurts?
I thought he played great. You know, I think, look, the story of the game is going to be the fact that the Eagles defense dominated the football game. Like that is the story. Now, saying all of that, Jalen Hurts had a great night. Look, he had one mistake early in the game versus a pressure. I think there was a bust up front by the offensive line actually when it happened. And outside of that, it was a really as you said, poised, clean performance by Jalen Hurts. I thought once they had the lead as well, the way that he played was outstanding. I think you can play the quarterback position differently based on, is it a tie game? Are you ahead? Are you losing? So they were playing with the lead, and I thought the way he played with the lead in the second half was great. You saw him rip off, I think, 3 big runs in the second half. And so some of that is just being smart, where you're not, overly aggressive in terms of how you throw the football, or, if you decide to even throw the football. So, look, this was one of these games, like the storyline and how we'll remember it will be Eagles, dominating defensive performance. But Jalen Hurts, a Super Bowl winning quarterback, and he played better at the quarterback position than anyone else that was on the field tonight. That's what happened.
Tim is exactly right. Jalen Hurts made some really nice throws down the field when he felt pressure, when he got one on wanted. He threw the ball very accurate.
He was 17 of 22 for 221 yards.
He was very good throwing the football.
He had touchdowns in the air. He had him on the ground. And obviously he gets his first Super Bowl win. And you just saw there in his career, he became the first player in NFL history with 10 passing and 10 rushing touchdowns in a postseason. And that kind of describes what the Eagles were able to do this entire run. There were times this season where their offense was called into question. And then came the postseason and it was like, flip the switch.
Yeah, and kudos to Jalen Hurts, because I heard him in an interview say, well, look, it's not about what I do as a passer. I'm just trying to win. I just want to win games. And he was right. Early in the season, he didn't throw the ball a lot. Saquon Barkley was their guy. They were running the football, playing good defense. But when he had the opportunity where he had to make some throws, and it showed up in the Washington game, in the playoff game, where he actually had to make some big-time throws, he did it. It carried over to this Super Bowl. And by the way, the last Super Bowl he played in where he lost to the Chiefs, he played well in that game as well.
Yeah, they didn't lose because of him.
No.
Didn't lose because of him. And his entire career, he's been doubted. People trying to tell him what he wasn't as opposed to what he was. And now he's finally championed himself with that Super Bowl title. Much more to come here on SportsCenter as we wrap up the Super Bowl 59. We got more from Herm, we got more from Tim, and also more from New Orleans. Get you some reaction to the Eagles winning their second ever Super Bowl title.
Well, now, Saquon Barkley might not have put on a lights-out performance in Super Bowl LAX, but he sure walked away with what mattered most, the trophy. And let's be real, that's what he came for. Barkley racked up the most rushing yards and yards from scrimmage in a single season, playoffs included. But when it came down to it, all he really wanted was that Lombardi. Not too shabby for his first year with the Eagles, huh? Man, what a year, Barkley grinned after Philly stomped the Chiefs 40-22. I couldn't have done it without the fellas up front. Every single guy in that locker room, this whole organization, just brought me in, lifted me up, gave me my confidence back. That meant the world to me. Stats and records? Yeah, they're cool, but nothing beats holding this trophy right here. Barkley's stat line wasn't off the charts. 25 carries, 57 yards, 6 catches for 40 yards. But let's not kid ourselves. He already cemented one of the most dominant seasons in NFL history. The numbers? Jaw-dropping. Try 504 rushing yards, the most ever in a single season, playoffs included. The only player in history to break 2,500 yards in a year. Tack on 2,857 yards from scrimmage. Again, best mark ever. And just for good measure, he and Davis are now the only players to rack up 400-plus rushing yards and 5-plus rushing touchdowns in a single postseason. That's the kind of dominance folks will be talking about for decades. This is exactly why Barkley put on midnight green. He wanted this moment. "I came here to add to my legacy," he admitted. "Yeah, I wish I could have dodged those injuries in the past, but I never stopped believing. And now, man, we made it. The only thing missing? A birthday touchdown. Yep, Barkley turned a year older on February 9th, the same day the Eagles took home the championship. But hey, something tells me he's just fine with a Super Bowl ring as a gift. Man, she's prettier in person, I'll tell you that," Barkley said, staring at the trophy. "Playing Madden as a kid, you think you know what it feels like. But holding it, kissing it, that's the dream. And now, we're world champs. Think about it. Where does this season rank among the greatest in American football history? Could we be looking at a new gold standard for running backs,